Hello everyone. For my speech to inform, I will discuss about India and its modern leaders. This history of India is very important to learn about and study. India is one of the most important countries throughout South Asia to learn and study about. While understanding about the history of India as well as the nation of India, it is important that we become knowledgeable about its history and culture. By studying about modern India, we should learn about the individuals who have shaped this country throughout the 20th century. Therefore, this will give us a complete understanding about the history of India. Now, my thesis statement will be about the importance of India's modern leaders throughout the 20th century. Today, I'm going to inform about the significance of India's modern leaders who fought for India's independence, Mahatma Gandhi and Jawaharlal Nehru, in which I will discuss two main points. The first main point I will discuss about Mahatma Gandhi's active role in India's independence movement while using nonviolence. My second main point will be about Jawaharlal Nehru, who would become India's first prime minister during independence. Now, the significance of Mahatma Gandhi as leader and activist in India's independence movement against British rule. Many Indians from poorer classes supported Gandhi's philosophy of satyagraha, a non-violent passive resistance against British dominance of Indian society. According to Judith S. Bogman, author and editor from the American Decades, Gandhi uses his satyagraha to help the poorer classes organize and win against oppressive employers and landowners. Because of his beliefs of satyagraha, Gandhi is viewed by many as a champion of the common people who bridges the gap between the poorer masses and the Western educated classes in India. According to Bogman, unlike most political leaders, Gandhi dressed and lived the life of the lowest of the low and appealed to the people as a religious leader with political ideas. In addition, Gandhi became notable and popular towards millions of common people throughout India. Now, here is the image of Mahatma Gandhi, the hero of India's independence movement, who resorts to nonviolence against British rule in order to achieve India's independence. As a leader and activist of India's independence movement, Gandhi had gained importance by organizing the Salt March of 1930 against the British taxes on salt on the Indian people. According to Anne Comrie, writer and editor from the Historic World Leaders, the Salt March of 1930, designed to flout the government's heavily taxed monopoly on the manufacture of salt by marching to the coast to take salt directly from the sea, and that sea is from the Indian Ocean. Gandhi's action of nonviolent passive resistance by organizing the Salt March has gained the attention from many Indian people by protesting against British taxes on salt. And now, this is the image of where Gandhi had led the Salt March in 1930 against British taxes on salt in India. That was the first part where he used nonviolent resistance against British rule. Okay. The Salt March of 1930 by Gandhi and his supporters of the Indian independence movement to collect salt at the Indian Ocean was one of the prominent passive resistance against British monopoly of salt. India's Salt March of 1930 is also equated to America's Boston Tea Party of 1773, when the Americans had protested against British taxes on salt, or mostly on tea. Despite being arrested and released by British authorities, Gandhi's use of passive resistance has won many concessions when the British agreed to negotiate for India's independence. Now, my second main point of Jawaharlal Nehru as leader of India's Congress Party and political activist of India's independence, which leads him to become the first Prime Minister of India. Now, this is Jawaharlal Nehru, a member of India's independence movement and the first Prime Minister of India. Nehru's role as both leader and negotiator of the Indian independence movement was to support the partition of British India into two nations, Hindu-majority India and Muslim-majority Pakistan. According to Ann Comrie, writer and editor from the historic World Leaders, against Gandhi's wishes and his own judgment, Nehru, hoping to avoid further bloodshed, reasoned that by cutting off the head, we shall get rid of the headache. What Nehru meant is that the partition of India into two nations of India and Pakistan are the only solution to avoid the bloodshed between the Hindus and Muslims. While Gandhi favors a united India with full equality between Hindus and Muslims and the Sikh minorities, Nehru is aware that the cause for partition is inevitable and unstoppable. Partition became relevant when the former colony of British India has become two independent nations of India and Pakistan. While becoming the first Prime Minister of India, Nehru became more proponent in building India into an effective democratic nation in South Asia. According to B. Nanda, author of the document Jawaharlal Nehru from the Encyclopedia of India, he nurtured institutions and traditions indispensable for the growth of parliamentary democracy, such as free press, an independent judiciary, and the supremacy of civil government. Nehru's significance as Prime Minister was the nation building of India, which brings the growth of parliamentary democracy, economic development, and political stability. Nehru became important by shaping India through economic development with the formation of the Planning Committee in 1950. According to Nanda, the Commission fixed levels of investments, prescribed priorities, and appropriated investments between agricultural and industry, and allocated resources between the state government and the central government. Nehru's formation of his planning committee, known as the Planning Commission, was to promote economic unity and social changes throughout India. Now, in conclusion, both Mahatma Gandhi and Jawaharlal Nehru are India's most important modern leaders throughout the 20th century. The two men share their beliefs of gaining India's independence and transforming their country towards the era of modernization. Despite their differences, both Gandhi and Nehru worked together to shaping the future of India while aligning with each other in forcing Britain to allow its nation's independence. With the death of Gandhi in 1948 by a Hindu assassin, Nehru continues to push for unity and stability for India during his terms as Prime Minister until his death in 1964. Nevertheless, many people throughout India praise both Mahatma Gandhi and Jawaharlal Nehru as heroes that gained strong legacies and importance. Now, the efforts of both Gandhi and Nehru of shaping India towards independence and modernization are both knowledgeable and important. For those who wishes to learn about India's modern leaders, it is important to learn about Gandhi and Nehru in India's history. Both of the men are part of India's independence movement, who fought for their nation's freedom through nonviolence and passive resistance. By learning about them, it will enable anyone to understand about India's struggle towards independence and modernization. So, that's about it of my speech to inform about India and its modern leaders. And if you ever wanted to visit India, there's a perfect historic site you should see, like the Taj Mahal, one of India's best sites ever, is historical sites, which is one of the most perfect ones. And you ever want to learn about the history of India, you should try learning about reading this book from the Greenwood Histories of Modern Nations about India. And you can see the image of the Taj Mahal. So, I hope you liked my studies. Thank you very much.